I'm Joss'n, and I'll be going over the principles and elements of design, which is part of the Home and Housing Environment Explore Guide. So if you want to follow along, go to the Texas 4-H website, or go to the description box where I have the link to the Explore Guide. And it's lesson 2 that we'll be going over, so let's get started.
So before I explain the elements and principle of design, let's break down why these concepts are important. It's important for interior designers, whether working on a personal or professional project, to know the basics of art and design. Elements and principles of design are the building blocks used to create a work of art. So art, of course, has various branches of creative activity. However, we're going to focus on visuals that are either artwork like paintings and sketches, as well as interior design, home decor. Now, elements of design can be thought of as things that make up a painting, drawing, design, a room. You get it. Good or bad, all paintings and interior designs will contain most, if not all, elements of design. The principles of design can be thought of as what is done with the elements of design. How the principles of design are applied determines how successful we are in creating and inviting a space. So, we're going to go over the elements of design first, and then review the principles of design. So, elements of design is a visual you can use to create your 4-H project, artwork, a room. It's endless. Because remember, art takes on different forms of creativity. Everything you see has a design. When you describe something you see, you use words that tell/talk about the lines, shapes, colors, textures, and spaces. Now, line, shape, form, space, color, texture are the basic elements of design. For this activity, these are the tools used to design a room or a space. By learning and using the elements and principles of design, you will increase your understanding of how and why some things work together, and some simply just don't. So let's review the elements. There's 6 elements. First up is line. So line is any mark greater in length than width. Words to describe line include vertical, horizontal, straight, curved, diagonal, thick, thin, dashed, zigzag, continuous, jagged, or smooth. Lines can show direction, lead the eye, outline an object, divide a space, and communicate a feeling or emotion. Next is shape. Shapes are made by connecting lines. Circle, square, triangle, and freeform are words used to identify shapes. Look at the objects around you and describe their basic shapes. Are they one shape, or are they a combination of many shapes? After doing this several times, you'll begin to understand what a shape really is. Shape is 2-dimensional and appears flat. Then we got form. Now form is when shapes are 3-dimensional. We call them forms, right? A circle is a shape, a ball is a form, a square is a shape, a cube is a form. Are you seeing the difference? A drawing is a flat shape, okay? A sculpture, a 3-dimensional form, is going to be a form, right? It gives it depth. Words to describe form include cube, box, ball, cylinder, pyramid, freeform, or sphere. Next, we got space. Space refers to the area that a shape or form occupies. It also refers to the background against which we see the shape or form. Space can be defined as a positive and negative. The positive space of a design is filled space in the design. Often it's a shape that makes up the design. Now, negative space is the background. The negative space as a design is just as important as the positive area, right? You gotta think of your background as well as the main area. And in interior design, it's the same thing, just slightly different. They use different words. So space in interior design is an area between and around an object, and that area and the object it occupies. In a room, you have a defined space, so it's important to consider how much of the space each object will use. For this reason, space is an added element in home decor. Words to describe space include cramped, crowded, open, uncomfortable, comfortable, cozy, nosy, warm, or cold. Now, color. So color is described with the words of hue, value, and intensity. Hue refers to the name of the color like red or blue. Value tells the lightness or darkness of a hue. Thus, it's the color we see when light is reflected. Intensity refers to the brightness or dullness of a hue. You can use a color wheel and learn how colors work together. And the last element of design is texture. Texture is the surface quality of an item. It is how something feels or appears like it would feel when it is touched. Words to describe texture include rough, smooth, soft, prickly, squishy, grainy, or hard. So as you can see, the chair shown is leather, and leather looks like it feels soft, smooth, slick, and even cold. So moving on to the principles of design. The principles of design are balance, emphasis, unity, rhythm, and proportion. The principles of design are how we use the elements of design to create the desired look. Remember, they go hand in hand. So balance. Balance gives us a feeling of stability. And there's 3 types of balances. Symmetrical, radial, and asymmetrical. Symmetrical, also known as formal balance, is the simplest kind. This means if you draw a line down the center, both sides are identical, or they look the same on both sides, right? Our bodies are an example of formal balance. If you draw an imaginary line from your head to your toes, dividing your body in half, you will pretty much have the same on both sides. Designs that have a radial balance have a center point, like a tire, a pizza, a daisy flower. These are all good examples of a radial balance. An informal or an asymmetrical balance means if you draw a line down the center, both sides appear to be equal in visual weight, although not identical. Thus, it creates a feeling of equal weight on both sides even though the sides do not look the same. Asymmetrical balance is the hardest type of balance to achieve and often takes experimenting to achieve. Emphasis. Every design needs an accent, a point of interest. Emphasis is the quality that draws your attention to the center part of a design or room. First, right? When you go into the room, it's the first thing you see. That's an emphasis. So there are several ways to create an emphasis. You can use contrasting color, use a different or unusual line, make a shape very large or very small, use a different shape, use a plain background space. For example, in the image that I'm showing, the yellow chair draws your attention to the center of the room first. Now, unity. Unity is achieved when all the elements and principles work together as a whole to create a look or a theme. Therefore, when things look right together, you have created unity or harmony. Lines and shapes that repeat each other show unity. Curved lines with curved shapes. Colors that have a common hue are harmonious. Textures that have a similar feel add to unity. But too much uniformity sometimes can be boring. So at the same time, too much variety destroys unity. Now, rhythm. I bet you when you listen to music, you felt rhythm. Rhythm also allows you to move from one part of a design to another part. It directs your eye around the room, and rhythm can be created by repeating design elements like shapes, forms, colors, textures, or lines. And also like varying the sizes of objects, of shapes or lines in a sequence. Using a progression of colors from tints to shades can also be shown as rhythm, and shifting from one hue to a neighboring hue like yellow to yellow-orange. Proportion. Now, proportion refers to the relationship between one part of a design to another part or even to the whole design. It's a comparison of size, shapes, and quantities. For example, the relationship between the vertical and horizontal measurements of a wall hanging may be pleasing because the unequal lengths produce an interesting contrast. Or if you're comparing size, like scale, like you're scaling it, you can see, as an example, these 2 rocking chairs. All the parts, the seat, the back, the legs, the spindles, are in proportion to each other. However, the big chair would not be the correct size or scale for a toddler, while the child's rocker would not work very well for an adult to use either. So, comparing the scale for when it's appropriate. So that's a wrap. That's all the elements and principles of design. So to reflect really quick, I'm going to ask a few questions, and if you want to answer, comment below. Let's start. Let's reflect. What element of design did you like the most? Like, which one caught your eye? Which one was the most appealing? Second question. What other places have you seen elements and principles of design being used or applied? Last question, and this one I really hope for you to respond, is how might you incorporate principles and elements of design in future projects? And I really want you to think about that because principles and elements of design, like we mentioned in this whole lesson, is pretty much everywhere. So I know you can apply it in the future. Get creative and do it. And those who are looking for an activity, Make a collage. Now this activity, you can get more instructions on your Explore guide from the Housing and Home Environment, but the goal is to make and find examples of each element and principle of design, right? That's what your collage is going to be. And the certain elements or principles you can't find, then that's going to be your collage. Make that collage of the elements you can't find, and then get creative, use different materials, whether it's feathers, beads, magazine cutouts. I mean, the sky's the limit. Use what you have at home. And for the base of your collage, use either a paper or poster board. And if you want to show me those images, you can always follow me on my Facebook page, Just Joss'n.
Alright, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more videos. I'm Just Joss'n. And yeah, make sure to visit the Texas Forage website for any other Explore guides. There's a lot of different projects you can go check out, so make sure to check them out. Bye!